let me just make one comment about it. Nobody questions that climate's always changed. All evidence, all scriptural evidence, all archaeological evidence, we all understand that. But I also would quote another great scientist, Richard Lindzen with MIT, who said, regulating CO2 is a bureaucrat's dream. If you control climate, you control life. So, back in 1995 was my first year here in the United States Senate, and I was on this committee. And at that time, I actually chaired, it was called then, I guess it still is, the Clean Air and Nuclear Subcommittee. And at that time, we had gone, I think, 12 years without having any kind of a hearing on the NRC. And of course, we immediately got involved in that and kind of revived them, because you can't do that with any bureaucracy. You have to stay on top of it. And so we did, and we've been very much interested. It's interesting because that's the only area where I think that Senator Whitehouse and I agree that nuclear is so incredibly important for us to have in the mix. Now, last month, there's a magazine, an article in the Business Insider published an article detailing 7 different ways the United States is falling behind when it comes to nuclear power technology. Some of you may be familiar with this, and I would ask that this be part of the record at this time. And while we're correcting the dependency problem that we had actually with the shale revolution in oil and gas, we're still increasing our dependency in other areas. And of course, one is importing uranium from Russia and purchasing heavy water from Iran. The United States can't afford to lose ground to countries like Russia, Iran, China, and other countries. And I'd like just to ask you guys, particularly from the labs, what you think about this and why it is that we cannot get back in a position where I understand that we've actually have not had heavy water here since 1996 and been importing uranium from Russia. About 20%, I think, of our mix right now is imported from Russia. Does that sound right to you, either one of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what can we do I'm concerned about that as a national security issue. I'm concerned about that for other reasons other than just advancing without creating a problem in trying to get back in a leadership position in nuclear energy. What can we do about those two importations apparently that are so prevalent today?
Senator, the part of the uranium importation was to reduce the stockpile of weapon-usable uranium and downblending it. So it was in terms of national security, I believe it was beneficial. However, as we look to the future now, those advanced reactor concepts that I have mentioned, quite a few of them require enrichment higher than what we are capable of doing today. It's the standard light water reactors use 5% enrichment, and all our enrichment capabilities, commercial enrichment capabilities, are limited by 5%. But the liquid metal-cooled reactors, as well as those high-temperature reactors, will require enrichment up to 20%. So at some point, if we are serious about advancing those technologies and taking the leadership in those technologies globally again, we have to look at the enrichment issue and the uranium issue very seriously.
Are we doing that now? Are we looking at it? Are we trying to make advancements? Because when I see that other countries now are passing us up, as pointed out in this article, in technology, and you say that we need to be looking at that. Are we in the process now of trying
Department of Energy is looking at the options on how we can start supplying uranium enriched higher than 5%.
Well, you know, for some of them who talk about, yes, we need to get back to where we have everything renewable and all of that, I go back to my state of Oklahoma, and they ask questions there they don't ask in Washington, like, you know, if we're dependent upon fossil fuel and nuclear for 89% of the power it takes to run this machine called America, and you do away with both of those, how do you run the machine? And the answer is you can't, right? Well, what do you think, Mr. Khaleel? Do you know of any, are you optimistic that we're going to be able to do something in the future to put us back in getting into technologies where at least on an even keel with some of our competitors out there?
I think so, Senator. Currently, the Department of Energy is pursuing these advanced reactors, non-light water reactors. Mm-hmm. And as Dr. Kemal mentioned earlier, there is a variety of concepts. And I think that's really an important thing, in terms of our security, but also our, competitiveness.
Yes.
Likewise, modular reactors, they're really a good and a cheap way to trying to get, to deliver nuclear power, sustained power, in really, a modular way, but also situated to the local conditions. So these two kind of approaches and activities are fairly important. We also have, enrichment, uranium enrichment activities at Oak Ridge National Lab. And so I think we're pursuing multiple tracks. I think an important thing is really to deal with the whole balance between finances and licensing, and also to bring, modeling and simulation capabilities to accelerate, the cycle for licensing in the U.S. I think that's really an important aspect that needs to come through. And I think most of our national labs have tremendous capabilities in modeling and simulation. These are high-fidelity predictive tools that can actually enable us to do things in a rapid way, and I think that's critical.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, we had a Commerce Committee meeting at the same time that this is going on, so I missed the opening statements. And some of these things, I'm sure, were covered. But that has been my interest for a long time, to make sure that we get back. I look at countries like France and the percentage of their total energy that is provided from nuclear. And I can't see, looking into the future, how we're going to be able to do it without becoming more aggressive than we've been, more competitive, and competitive in technology, too. Very good. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.